We had forgot to talk about this one thing. So when Tucker was on, he was saying that there was no evidence for evolution.
Yeah.
And you had a real problem with that.
Well, I didn't have a real problem with that.
Small problem with that?
Let's put it this way. I think it's nonsense, but I understand.
That's a problem.
I understand how he ends up there. So let me just say, I saw that segment, of course, as you would imagine, and I immediately reached out to him, and I said, Tucker, you've got it wrong. The evidence for Darwinian evolution, for adaptation, is overwhelming, and I would love to sit down with you and talk to you about why that is. And he said, I would love that. And we haven't had a chance yet, but I do think it's important in saying something about why that perspective, where that perspective is coming from and why it's incorrect. It is important to say, I really appreciate Tucker, and his openness to hearing the counter argument says a lot about him. He was not the slightest bit defensive, and in fact was eager to hear about Darwinism. And
well, he's absolutely willing to change his mind.
Yeah,
about everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is great.
It's
It's very important that he's got such a big voice because of that.
I agree, and I must just say, it's funny. I went on his show. He was the first person to reach out when things melted down in 2017 at Evergreen, and I thought him a villain at the time. But because nobody else had reached out from any mainstream platform, I felt like I had no choice but
I remember you took a lot of heat for that, for being on his show.
A lot of heat. But it was a wake-up call because, I was expecting him to treat me badly. I was expecting him to treat me as a liberal who got what he deserved. And instead, he was absolutely compassionate. And he didn't... There was no part of him that was taking a victory lap over some liberal who was faced with an angry mob. So anyway...
He's oddly misinterpreted.
Yes.
Like the way people pretend he is versus how he actually is. I mean, he doesn't do himself any favors, like when he had that guy on that said he blew Obama. Like, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? He's just wild. But I mean, he's willing to have on anybody, I guess. But who he is as a person, he's a lovely guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Very nice guy.
And, he's just like obsessively in love with nature.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, which is really interesting about him. Passionate fly fisherman.
Oh, yeah. Passionate outdoorsman.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, I have a lot of affection for the guy.
Yeah, I do too. And it is interesting. There's a certain group of people that are just on Team Blue. You say anything positive about Tucker, and you're some sort of a terrible villain, and he represents white supremacy. And
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What?
Yeah, it was a
weird,
a strange discovery.
But it's being connected to Fox News. You get attached to Fox News. You get attached, especially him, the most popular voice on Fox News.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time. He's always being demonized as a white supremacist or something, and I got into the habit every time somebody said, "Oh, Tucker's finally revealed himself," I would click through and see what the evidence was.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, the guy just said he wasn't for open borders, right?
It's just
it's just empty.